the word separateness says it all. And it's a matter of being separate, not just because of some wall that will be built or may not be built or could be, expanded on or fixed or repaired or, whatever it is. But it's really about being separate from each other and how it's played out generation after generation through all kinds of turmoil politically and socially and economically. And now globally with all these different countries and different people with different languages, literally languages and values. So it's bringing all that together. Imagine one day, John Lennon, imagine one day that everyone will be at peace and will be one, and there will be none of this. But right now, we stand right now at a certain point in history where we are up against the wall, okay, so to speak, where it's really time to start getting serious about connecting and not being separate from each other and finding solutions for these situations. Ray, what do we have?
Well, let's see. We got Joy and Veronica, and Veronica says, why do humans think building walls are easier than being open?
Just like I said, Veronica, it's a human problem. It's a need to be right. It's about not wanting to give something up and, not caring about the other person, really.
Not letting them in.
Not letting them into your heart or into your country and you can see the problems with it. There's a lot of problems with it where, people that come into their, all over Europe, you can see it, it has worked against them. But, it's because the separateness was there for so long that you just can't bring them together and homogenize that and pretend everybody is going to be okay in it, when there's always that separation, that religious separation or that economic separation. Those kids went to Ivy League schools. These kids only went to community colleges. You can't commingle that. There's a social thing going on. There's all kinds of stuff like that. It doesn't mean that you can't commingle it. You can't bring it together, because that's the whole point. That's the way guidance sees it. Is this thing about separation and division is what's really causing the problems these days. That's the big problem.
I think with the education thing, people instill separatism or polarization of one person against the other. You take a kid who went to the Ivy League schools and a kid both who didn't went to a junior college. Both of them could have grown up in the ghetto.
Oh, I know. Well, that's true.
They had a lot tying them together before.
Okay, but it's not usually the case, right?
No.
And so the whole social structure and the way that you've been raised, it divides you. The way we've been brought up in this world from the time that we were born into the school system, into the society, and into the work system. It's all about class and division and
fear
and status and all that. So that's what's really wrong with it. I mean, 1% of the people control how much of the money? 90% of the money?
97% or something.
It's crazy. I mean, so you can't have a society that's that far out of balance and expect it to work. In fact, that's when things really start to show up as far as them not working. And there is conflict and there is strife and that type of thing. So the guides are, they moved into this new segment, the middle of this month, this new year. And they have, because they see something coming for all of us where we need to be aware of what's going on here and not be so naive about what is happening, So.
Okay. Got Joy doesn't have a question. She has a very interesting comment.
Yeah.
Joy says, I did not have a chance to respond to Linda's insight this morning, but I channeled the guides to see where I have built walls.
Good, good.
They said, you are always building walls to prevent others from seeing who you really are. This is unfortunate and detrimental to you, as you have nothing to hide from others' view. Others would benefit from your example. You need to tear down the walls that prevent you from growing. You are afraid of not being accepted by your peers. If you release this fear, you and those around you will grow together. Your fear is not based in truth. Fear is never based in truth.
Yeah, your fear is not based in truth. So it's not rational, actually, But I understand why you're careful with yourself, conservative with yourself, and you'd rather not say anything than to bring it up and have to deal with God only knows what, So I do understand that, but we have to imagine that's what we have to overcome. That's ultimately what we have to overcome. That's a pretty big demand. When you can, the only reason I say this is because when you see how society has, through the generations and over the centuries, has gotten to the point that it's at, you can see how unwinding that will take time. It doesn't just happen in one leap. It's going to take time, but it's time, because this won't hold up anymore. I mean, you can see this whole thing with the politics, and then the wall and the government shutdown. It being stubborn and fighting each other and not working it out is not the answer. But that's how far it's gotten. It's an angry society. So when you've got anger like that, and you've got people who have a very strong opinion about what things should be or what's right and wrong, that's a problem.
Well, physically, walls eventually crumble. I mean, you look back over centuries, even that Great Wall of China, when it was built, when it was new, still didn't keep everybody out.
No, and they do crumble.
People got in.
And walls do crumble. Yeah. So what else do we have, Ray?
Let's see
things popping up.
Trey Jackson. Hello,
all right, Trey. Good.
All right, Veronica Baca, how do you take the first steps to improve society? We'll get to that one. Trey has an observation. You can't change people's belief systems. You can move them to a frequency of love. All that matters in the end is that there is a shift to love. You don't have to change people's minds. It's usually impossible anyway with words.
Trey is right about that. Let's let the guides comment on what Veronica and Trey collectively talked about. Let them address that, and here they go.
Besides physical barriers designed to separate people and all other societies that are not like yours, people have built physical walls around themselves. People, once they get hurt or become fearful in any way of someone or something, build their own walls. Some just retreat from society and become hermits or agoraphobics. Others build actual physical walls around them by putting on extra weight. This happens when the fear becomes emotional and people do things to not draw attention to themselves. By doing this and keeping yourself isolated, you also keep the love out.
Wow, this thing about, and that's right, Trey, about the love, this thing about being overweight. Look at how many obese people, I mean, there's so many people overweight, children, everything, that are overweight. Those barriers, that protection, you know, it's really topped off. I mean, there's no way that this society can keep this going, whether it's political or financial or a status or
Religious,
physical or religion,
financial, right,
or any of this. It's not holding up. It's all breaking down. So that's why people can't come to terms. They can't. It's my way or their way. It's they're still fighting to be right, and that's not connected. That's not love. That's not bringing both worlds together and working it out. There's a part in the Insight today that, and I'm glad you guys all showed up. Trey, great to have you. There's a part in the Insight I want to go to, which I thought was interesting. The last thing that they talked about, your decision to follow your guidance is in following your heart. There you go. Only when you can make this connection and see what's really at stake, that's when that happens. When you are connected soul to soul, the solution will become clear. I'm going to say that again. When you are connected soul to soul, the solution will become clear. It's that easy. You know, it's that easy. There's no stress on it. It just comes out. It shows itself. It's the truth. It's truth and love. That's what it is.
I mean, sometimes these barriers, these walls, are imaginary lines on a map. You walk up to that line and you're in this country. You walk over that line, you're in somebody else's country.
Who made those rules up?
Right. I mean,
you might even whose barriers are those?
Yeah, you might even speak the same language, or maybe centuries ago, you got your own language, and the person on the other side of the line had their own language, and for that reason, you couldn't let them in on your side, and you couldn't go on their side.
Or just different values, different. Like if you go to Mississippi, hi Joy, and then you go to New York City, that's like apples and oranges. I mean, the relationship is so far apart, you know. And
I mean, you don't have to go far in this country to find people who speak with an accent that you don't even understand.
So these barriers and these walls are coming down. That's why the guides are talking about this in this segment, with these segments about the spiritual meanings of building the wall. The spiritual meanings of building the wall it's not just that wall on the southern border. That just brings attention to the problem that we all face in some way. Do you isolate yourself? Are you what is that called, an
agoraphobic?
Agoraphobic, where you don't like to come out of your house? Do you build a big wall around your house, like to keep people out? Do you not answer the phone and only pick it up? I mean, I can see why you do it. I totally get it, but it's not going to fix the problem. It just keeps pushing it. You just keep pushing it out and expecting the problem to go away. That's what our parents did. That's what our parents' did, and it goes down the line. They've been doing it for a long time, and there was actually in our parents' time, you could actually move away from a lot of this. Okay, you could go retire somewhere really nice and move away from it and never have to deal with it. Okay, but guess what happened? We live in a world now. It's a global thing. It's all connected. Whether we try to prevent that or not, we are all connected, whether we like it or not. So there's no place to go. Every place has stress on it now. Every place is working through this need to resolve the limitations and bring the love in and stop being so fearful and disconnected and divided with our thoughts,
Veronica has another question. How does this relate to healthy personal boundaries?
Okay, okay, help me out on this.
Well, what's the definition of healthy personal boundaries?
Well, it's an evolution. You can't go out there and think that you could say that you know what a healthy physical boundary is based on some euphoria or some ideal time in the future where we're all going to migrate this way. Hey, guys, we're either going to go this way or we may not make it, all right, as a species. That's where we're at with this. That's where this really is. So to push it and to think that it could be utopia right now while you're living around all the chaos, you know, we can, like what Ray and I do when we do these things, when we do the insights, when I write the books and all that. It's my way of, and our way of facing this thing, looking this thing in the eye, and letting the guides come through and deliver this information to you guys when it's timely. And you know what? It's timely. Actually, it's showtime. And this year we're going to really see a lot of friction around this because it's time to break it down. And next year there's going to be even more. And let's let the guides talk about what I just said. Going to push us through it, get us out of it.
You must have reasonable personal boundaries. But you can't go out into society without any kind of cautionary activity. That would be a disaster.
Right.
It's like the electric fence for your dog in the backyard. They can only run up so close, and they get a trickle of a charge. But if they get too close, they get shocked. Same way with people. If you get that emotional trickle or fear, it's a warning. It's guidance to stop where you are and reconsider what you're doing.
Right, right. So it's not going to just happen in one leap, you guys. It's about, it took generations after generations to get to the point where we're at. So to unwind it and move it back and push it back, it's got to be collective. It's got to be where most people have had it. You know, there's that 10% theory. Once 10% of the people are on board, it's the 100th monkey. Everybody else just kind of falls into place. All right. The same 100th monkey syndrome got us where we're at. We just kind of let it happen. Oh, you know, we don't have to fix it, or, you know, I'll just move away from it, or I'll build a bigger wall, you know, and all that. Look where it's got us, and look at how people, you know, have reacted anyway.